Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna lower this a bit. Should do. A bit less. There we go. Okay. Hello. Welcome to another Schizoid Saturday. Ooh. Anyway, let me see here. Someone's already on, huh? Oh, you're already ready to roll, Shadow. Give me a minute. You ready to talk about yourself again? I hope so. Alright. Let's see here. Alright, I'll let you on a bit here, Shadow. So you can talk about yourself the whole time. Yeah, it's so funny. Let's see here. Okay. Just make sure everything I need is up and ready to roll. Looks like it is. Okay. Okay. All right. There we go. Looks like we're up to speed now. Everything's running smooth. Everything's here. All right, just the basic bitch updates that I usually like to mention, at least at the beginning, until more people end up rolling in here out of the graves, known as the lives. No bigger news to report. The ADHD medication isn't quite working as good anymore, but that's only because I was taking a really low dose, which was like kind of a transition dose or something like that. So there's probably a good chance I have to talk to my psych about getting me like on a full dose, which right now it's only 40 milligrams of Strattera. A full dose would be at least 60 or 80. So probably gonna be try the 60 and then 80. We'll see, because the 40 was doing a real good job at the beginning. But I'm falling asleep at work again. Like nodding off all the time. I can still get my shit done, but I nod off like a lot. And I wasn't doing that for a while on the first couple of weeks of Strattera, so I'm hoping getting a more, I guess, medicinal dose will keep that going, trucking along for a little bit longer, so I can actually do my job that pays for my bills. Competently. That would be good. Not because, I'm so happy and excited about being competent at my job, more like I need to be competent at my job so I don't lose it, so that, I'm not a deadbeat dad. Can't pay for his kid's stuff. Be a big old piece of shit, Let's see here. Nothing else really to report. Been a rough week, for couple people I care about out there, and so it's just been one of those weird like weeks where it's like, wow, things are just going not so good all around. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. I don't know what the hell's going on in the air. I'm not surprised though. Summer started. For me, summer means a seasonal depression. Most people get it in the winter. I get it in the summer. Honestly, it's just regular depression plus like all the shit that comes with summer that I hate. Besides, just heat, sweat. I don't mind sweat when I go to the gym. That's fine. But, it's like you can't take a shower and then you're fine. You take a shower and then you go out and then you're sweating again. So non-stop sweating during hot days, and humidity combined with that, and just shit hot weather, and the sunniness, just utter fucking just bright ass sun all goddamn time. Yeah, it just exacerbates all like my negative symptoms, like extra, like I guess winter does for some people. It's just that time of the year for me, man. It's gonna be a rough one, but hey, got through it once before. Got through it, you know, all these other times. I'm gonna be turning 40 in August, so yeah, man, I'm an old goddamn man, huh? Old man angst. So yeah, I would say that's about all I have to say about myself at the moment that I'm comfortable with. Yeah. Okay, so let's get right into it now. On Schizoid Saturdays, if you don't already know, is when I read the Dear Angst submissions. I usually put a question sometime during the middle of the week, and then people answers that question through an anonymous submission thing we have set up that my kind devs, mods, and everything else support. And so then I get these submissions, and I don't read usernames. I'm the only one that gets to see the username, but honestly, I don't really care who's sending it. Like, it's not about who's sending it, it's about what they say. That matters to me. And so in any case, you know, hearing those submissions can be useful to other Zoids. It's useful to me in my own education and my own progress and trying to figure all this shit out, since there isn't too many people attempting to do so, at least in a coherent way or consistent way. It's better. Yeah, I'm going to start with that. So the question that was submitted. The question that I posited for this week. Usually I dump it on like Wednesday, so it's a few days it'll sit there. And sometimes I have to do reminders, because otherwise, like, people see it the first time and then they're just like, oh, I'll do it later, maybe, I don't know, and then just don't. So then, like, about Friday, I usually like ping, and then I'll get a few more from those people that already put it off, and then can't do it then. So we only got a few, not a crazy amount. But it looks like a few interesting ones. It's hit and miss all the time, because sometimes I'll ask a question that I think is not going to get much attention, and it gets a ton, and I get a lot of submissions, and then other ones where I think it's going to work, and then it doesn't. I'm kind of just giving up on having any expectations regarding the questions. It's kind of silly that I even had them to begin with. But in this case, I got a few. So it'll be interesting. The conversation or the question that I had put forward, my usually confusing and convoluted questions, is what I asked. I said, I've been doing more reading. Well, this is what I said. I've been doing more reading on neurodivergency, schizoid crossover research. Harder to find than you think. When you're wow, I can't write apparently. I can't read. Were you diagnosed or have memories of having behavior that would fall in line with anything from autism, ADHD, to what the institution currently terms schizotypal PD? And over time, you became more and more disconnected from everything, including those parts that might have been there. Right? So, the question is basically asking, do you remember... Well, a lot of schizoids don't remember all that much about their childhood too vividly. We tend to be pretty unreliable narrators around childhood sometimes, because it's all like foggy and shit, especially if you got that disassociation earlier in life to some degree, or if you were just so wrapped up in your special interests that you kind of just put everything else by the wayside. But, you know, it's different for different people. That's kind of how my memory is of my childhood. I have like parts of it that are very vivid. I have a lot of internal memories about what I thought and felt about something. Not felt, thought. More thought than felt, to be honest. And it allows me to kind of really parse out certain things and compare it to, like, say, what my mother says I was liked as a child, or my father had said I was liked as a child, or my sister, which oftentimes is incongruent with my actual memories of certain things, and how I process them, and what was distressful and what wasn't, and so on and so forth. I figured there might be some people that some schizoids in the server that might have some memories of being an odd child, or being told you were an odd child, or being bullied for being odd, or being told that when you got older that you behaved sort of different as a child than most kids. Stuff like that, right? Is the kind of stuff I'm interested in hearing about today. Now, I asked that question, and I got a few answers. And I'm going to be checking those out. 1 second here. Oh, where'd that go? Oh, that's where it went. There it goes. What a silly Billy I tend to be. Okay. Alright. Let's go with that. That works, actually. Yeah. Alright. So, Shadow, welcome, what do you call, what do I call you? My pseudo co-host of the stream. My TISM co-host. How you doing, man? Oh, maybe they're not actually there. Maybe they just joined. I don't know. Maybe busy playing video games or something. That's perfectly fine. Okay. So, let me see here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first submission. Let's go right into it, okay? Sorry if I'm like not the most high energy today. It's just like I
said, where my energy.
Summer starting, man. Shit's the worst, huh?
That's where my energy came. I like have this weird coincidence thing, or either it's just confirmation bias. Usually, where I'll have like an insane amount of energy, and everyone else around me like audibly says they are not feeling that energized today, and then it'll be vice versa, where I'll think in my head I'm not feeling like, you know, too out there today, and then they'll tell me without being prompted to that they feel really good that day.
Oh, that's funny, man. I mean, oh, you want to? I just think it's it reminds me of that thing I was reading regarding some TISM stuff that was interesting. I didn't know it was a more recent thing about the chemical olfactory stuff when it comes to people that are on TISM, because like apparently they've done studies that like autistic people get more anxious around calm sweat or calm chemicals, and they get less anxious around anxious sweat and chemicals, like that come from other people's bodies. It's pretty interesting.
You can smell anxiety, is what I'm hearing.
Well, like, you know, what the chemical process of what, like, your, like, you know, pheromones, all that kind of shit, like, you know, just the animal shit. But apparently, like, a lot of autistic people have that shit reversed. So like being in a place where there's anxious people and there's sweating anxious sweat, essentially, it's more calming to a lot of autistic people, unknowingly. Like they might not be aware it's happening. It's like a process that it's usually like reverse. It'll usually be more like if you're around anxious people, you're gonna get more anxious. And not even if they're visibly anxious, there's just anxiety in the air and in their bodies.
Yeah, it's like the subconscious, like physical signs that you can tell if someone or how someone's really feeling.
With like basically breathing in and being affected by the scent of other people.
That is a very interesting concept.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And so I guess a lot of autistic people have that shit reversed. And I was just thinking about like how interesting that is, because then like that would make them another reason that they would be decent problem solvers when it comes to like situations that make other people anxious, or say jobs or things where you're going to be dealing with anxious people. Is interesting. But yeah, but I guess like calming sense like of groups of people like having a good time and everyone's calm, that makes autistic people more anxious. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Let's see here.
I mean, I don't tell me if you don't want to go on the tangent.
No, I don't want to go on the tangent. I was just mentioning.
Okay.
So let me see here. All right, so I was gonna get started. You saw the question I had posted this time around, so I doubt I have to repeat it. Let me see here. I'm gonna start with the first one. So regarding me asking people's memories about any signs of neurodivergency or early diagnoses in life or anything like that. I didn't get too many submits because there's probably a lot of people. I've noticed a lot of Zoids that even if they have that stuff, like they tend to not really be comfortable with like being able to make any particular statement about it. And a lot of the time it's because their memories of themselves as children are usually pretty disjointed or lacking in quality of like recollection. But here we go. Dear Angst, yes, I have memories of being a shy and happy child. Strange children would ask me to play. Stranger children? Oh, like stranger, like people, children that you don't know. Got it. Yeah, that just sounded interesting to me. Stranger children. But yeah, like unknown children, whatever. Would have to ask me to play because I wouldn't ask them myself. And I was focusing on solitary activities like drawing. In order to get me into a team sport activity, I remember that it took considerable effort from my castmates to convince me, but in the end I accepted, and still I didn't 100% like it, especially the more duty obligation part of being on a team. Also, I took some online tests which scored quite high on the autism spectrum on the technical side. I personally only consider SCPD to have some similarities to the spectrum. For example, and NZPD also have some similarities with thin-skinned NPD. Doesn't mean that we're actually autistic, but I'm not too savvy with these things. I'll leave that to you. Oh yeah, well, you don't have to leave it to me. It's just, I just think those things can easily coexist together. A lot of people seem to be really convinced that it's like one or the other, and even the psychological community seems to have trouble trying to assign any person that's significantly neurodivergent anyway, anything other than that neurodivergence. So, but it's funny because they don't mind crossing over types of neurodivergence, because there's like an entire category and conversation going on about what is it called, ADSD or something, AUS, basically like ADHD autism kind of mixes, and there's like stuff going on with that and conversations.
It's like AUHD.
Yeah. AUHD or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, they don't mind mixing those things up, but
no, it was AU8. It was AUDH.
Yeah, some bullshit.
D. Yeah. AUDHD. Yeah. God, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's not very. It doesn't roll right off the tongue there.
But it's autistic, including the full word of ADHD.
Yeah. But it's just so interesting that they can mix that stuff. But it's like,
well, it's I think that's going to be really hard because I haven't looked into ADHD, but from what I gathered from talking with you, I'm pretty confident that I don't relate to
so
it.
You can talk about them more.
Yeah, and I do every so often, right? I can only do so much, but I get around to it eventually. It just takes a while, right?
Yeah, no, I know. You take your time.
But when it comes to ADHD, it's like I'll have my cravings for stimulation, but nearly all the time I have a craving for deprivation. And not novelty, but a singular thing that I'm comfortable with, because that I know I like it, is comfortable.
I would, my armchair opinion would be that you're not fucking ADHD at all.
Yeah, the opposite of novelty and deprivation.
Yeah,
Like
me and you are
literally the fact that
opposites
I
on that
know,
shit.
the fact that I know I like a song is
Yeah.
comfortable because it means I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, cozy and repetitive. Even if something's good, you'll like it once and be like, "Oh, that was really cool. That was a good thing. Let me go back to my things uncomfortable."
Yeah,
And
even
so,
novelty, even
good
a
novelty.
great novelty, like amazing novelty,
Yeah,
it's not as comfortable as something that's just
yeah.
relatively
You've been
good,
doing
but that I've
forever.
done
Yeah,
before.
yeah. But
Combine that with autism and oof.
yeah, I get plenty. But yeah, yeah. As far as this submission goes, it's pretty common. Um, especially the whole like not talking to kids too much, not wanting to be in team sports. And what's interesting is that I don't think that's like evidence of someone being schizoid early in life. That's evidence of a kid that's just preoccupied with a different kind of thinking and focus. That kind of stuff is just not on the priority plate. It just really isn't. They got other stuff they want to pull themselves in toward, stuff like that. But in any case, oh my god, I almost had to sneeze. All right, next one. Dear Angst, none that I'm aware of. That's it. Man, it's actually important. None that I'm aware of, right? Man, like I didn't really. It wasn't until I got my the schizoid diagnosis and a bunch of other stuff before that, before I got even that, like, you know, like I got my, I used to have generalized anxiety disorder, and I got the agoraphobia shit, and yeah, the depression and the thymic stuff. And what's funny is like it wasn't until I started dabbling more into that I started really questioning so much of what my childhood was like and what motivated it. Um, and why I was generally more isolated, and also like I used to think. I think when I was younger, I used to think that the only reason kids bullied me was because I was a fat kid. But I remember I have some clear memories of like other fat kids in the class, because I was a fat kid, and the other fat kids would not be bothered anywhere near as much as I would be. So it wasn't really about me being a fat kid, though it didn't help. It was
Yeah,
about
it's one of
something
those
else.
things where it's not a flaw unless they don't like you, and then
Yeah,
anything's a
yeah,
flaw.
yeah. So they didn't like me for other reasons, and it wasn't because I was fat. It was just it was easy to pick on me for being fat because of other reasons that they didn't find me. They found me to be an oddball or something that made them unhappy that that person is around or says things or just isn't interacting like the other kids. It just makes other people uncomfortable, other kids uncomfortable to see that, or they feel slighted when you don't want to play with them and stuff like that. You know, that'll do it. That'll create a nice little cascade of shit slinging coming your way even early in life. Is you saying no to wanting to play, or you saying no to wanting to like share the activity because you're like, I'm doing it right now, like can you do it after? I don't want to do it with you. I remember that I do remember there were times as a kid where somebody else wanted to use the thing, the toy, the puzzle, whatever it is that I was doing. They wanted to use it, and so I wouldn't like.
Do you know how old you are for this, like these kinds of memories? Like, can you pinpoint
Oh
certain
man,
ages
like
for
I'm
these
talking
toys?
like, but for this, it's probably like 6 years old or something, 5.
Well, it's important in my
I don't know.
opinion.
I don't have anything super. I have very few like like 4 years old or like memories. I have like scattered bits and pieces. But I mean, it's all scattered bits and pieces in general. But
Yeah.
the yeah, I would just be like, oh, they wanted to play with the toys or the thing I was doing in class, and so I would just kind of give up on it. I would just be like, oh, they're like, oh, can I play with you or can I use it too? And I remember just being like, oh, it's okay, you can play with it, and then I would just go leave or I'll go do something else. Or if I was really interested, I would be like, no, I won't play with it. But I think I got in trouble for being like that. So instead of saying no to people, I just kind of left or just stopped, whatever. Or I just would just read stuff. I like reading a lot, so I probably just did
But
that.
it's like you got in trouble for telling them no, not for
Yeah,
leaving.
yeah. I didn't get in trouble for just saying, "Oh, it's okay, you play with it," and then I go do something else. That didn't get you in trouble. Telling them, "No, I don't want to play with you," got you in trouble. So yeah, speaking your mind got you in trouble at a very early age, even. In any case, let me go on here. But yeah, the none that I'm aware of is really important to me because, like, I feel like for some people, not everyone, I'm not saying this person that would say that, they might, if I asked them how like good are your memories of being a child to begin with, it'll either be like not very good or I have memories that don't feel like they're mine. Like, and so that one's interesting, and that one can be, I think, explained by the level of dissociation that comes later, later in life during your adolescent years and everything else as it grows and and so on and so forth. Then like your own memories seem distant and not even yours. So that's it's like loading up a save file for a game that you've never played, and somebody else played the save file, and all you have is like technically there's like a memory of previous playthroughs, but they don't feel like they were ever yours. Feels like somebody else did it, and you're just like, uploading the seed or whatever, the load file. Kinda give it up or hoard. It is kind of the only option for schizoid minds. Sharing equally isn't easy like it is for others. It's not even about sharing equally, I would think. It's more... Oh wait, sharing equally isn't it like... It isn't... Yeah, but that's the thing, like, I think the reason I would assume, like, a lot of neurodivergent kids don't want to play with other, like, neurotypical kids is because the way they want to play is probably not going to really work. Or they've already had experiences in which the play doesn't, like they've either upset or annoyed the other kids, or they've gotten in trouble because of how they play, and things like that. They might be more preoccupied with, making whatever it is they're doing go a certain way. And since when other people get involved, you can't do that, then, that's another reason why that might occur. But yeah. Let me see here. What do we got next? Alright, next one here. It says, Dear Angst, maybe this is normal at that age, but as a young kid, I used to hallucinate my mom sitting at the end of my bed every morning when I woke up. Then, when I tried to catch her, she'd disappear. Growing up, I'd assumed everyone could read my mind and would send psychic messages to people, which looked like Microsoft Word 2003 word art. And as far as I remember, I didn't receive messages from people, but I did from animals and toys. That stopped, but up until recently, I've still had vague feelings that people can read my mind. If I was thinking secret things in the presence of other people, I'd flood my mind with static or decoy thoughts, even though logically I didn't believe it. I was also very susceptible to conspiracy theories and esoteric ideas. I still have views about about reality that a shrink might try to medicate. But the difference now is that they're all deep and careful. Now is that they are from deep and careful analysis of it. I wouldn't call any of this a decrease in the schizotypal cognitive style, but I rather a combination of increased skill at thinking and of decreasing my capacity to experience or something. Yeah, that's actually pretty relatable. I didn't really have the hallucination thing, but I remember when I was a kid, I used to think the same way. I would have to like flood my mind. When I was, there was a couple of weird things. Like I remember because I grew up in a religious household, like I always thought like because I was told that God or whatever was in Jesus was like omnipresent and omnipotent or whatever. I always like thought he could read my thoughts, and if I had thoughts that I knew my parents would say were bad, um, or not, you're not supposed to have them, then I would like flood my mind with static. Like I would just be like just try to just think random stuff, because then it's like,
To be fair, though, you were told that someone else could read your thoughts.
yeah, but
So
but I just figured they're not lying to me. So
yeah.
which was, I discovered was very, very much the case later. But and it wasn't just that either. I used to I talked about it before, but I used to have like a lot of really weird. It was usually at night. Like kids will be scared of shit at night, like the dark, whatever. I was like scared of other shit. Like I was terrified of any sounds that I heard outside in the sky, like airplanes, because I thought they were UFOs. Or that aliens were gonna come get me. I was gonna get abducted. I don't know when those fears started. I used to have like a lot of fears of that. So then like I would like imagine like some kind of energy that could make me like not seen or make them go away. Or if I felt like there could be something in the room, like there's something present there, like some kind of ghost or monster or something, I would like imagine myself like pushing it away with like my willpower or something, and then I would feel safer, and then I would go to sleep. Like I used to do all kinds of shit like that as a kid.
I used to have a lot of fears about like random, I don't know, monsters, I guess, like outside the window, or that would manifest somehow throughout the house. I would just do the normal kid thing of hide underneath the blankets. They can't see me here.
Yeah.
That was my firm belief.
I thought they can see me, but if I used my magical thinking powers, like I could like make them go away. Like I can create like a field around me or something. I don't know why I thought that as a kid, but those are the kind of thoughts I had. And it's really interesting too, because it's kind of followed me into my adulthood to some degree, because when I have dreams about facing off against something like dreadful, or like something supernatural, or some monster or something of that nature, like in a dream, like I still kind of do that, but I'm not scared. I use it to combat it or something. Like I think I could like somehow like will, like it's trying to invade my mind, and I have to like will myself out of their control, their attempt to dominate me or something, and I'm gonna dominate them. I remember like
does it work often?
Yeah, I mean in the dream, yeah. Usually I end up waking
Lucky.
up. Usually I end up waking up, or like I guess end up waking up, or every dream I had where like some monster or bad thing is like stalking me or chasing me, I don't know what's wrong with me in dream world, but I always get really reckless and I run right toward it, like to go like fight it or punch it, or like
I mean,
I
that's
go fight.
just...
It's not flight. It's all fight.
I mean, yeah, I'm aware that you have a very fight response.
Yeah, I think that's all
for
it is.
Most things.
I have a super fight response in my dreams. Like, and I wake up. Like, I'll just be like, fuck you! And then, like, I'll run up to the... Like, I've had so many dreams where I'm, like, in a ghost. Like, there's a ghost, there's a dark hallway, there's something down the hallway, like, I can feel it looking at me. And then there's other people, like running and stuff, and then I just fucking get mad. I get mad at it. I get so mad. And then I just go swinging on that fucking thing. Like, it's so silly. Because, like, like, it's just such a silly, interesting reaction. Like, I have this weird belief. Like, a lot of magical thinking happens in my dreams. Like, and it's not even just dream logic. It's like, it feels...
What about
really
hypnagogic?
Hypnagogic?
Hypnagogic? Yeah. Hypnagogic states.
I've never had that too much. I've never had too many... I've never had a sleep paralysis incident like that. I know people that have, but... I do like my sleep. Like one time my wife got, I luckily it wasn't that hard, but apparently like I was fighting something in my sleep, and like I punched my wife right in the boob. And she was pissed. Like I just woke up to like getting hit with a pillow. and her saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And it's not the first time apparently that I've just like, she gets woken up and I'm like fucking swinging or something. So, but yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
I find I have a very like I revert back to like kid personality, or it's like the sensation. It's like I become very disinhibited when I am especially tired, or right before and right after I fall asleep and wake up.
Yeah.
Before like the mental gears kick in, and I'm like, all right, I'm awake now. Now I'm a completely different person.
Yeah. 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 That's that. I
And
don't think I have
I'll
that.
usually like I'll get
Sort of.
I'll get a lot nicer. I'll get a lot more like vulnerable. I'll be a lot more like, instead of the fight response I normally have, I'll have a lot more like fear and aversion response.
It's interesting.
It's like I go back to like kid personality.
Yeah, that makes some sense. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I started talking about that, just because of what I read. I think it had to do with the aliens, the belief of aliens, and like all this kind of really
schizotypal
weird like kind of
tendencies.
thinking that I had when I was a kid. And it wasn't because like, oh, I watched a movie. It was always like a problem. And I remember I would try. I think I would probably try to bring it up to like my family, and they just assumed it was a nightmare. They didn't really comprehend that I was like dealing with this shit like every fucking night. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that I think I was like a bedwetter for like a while. Yeah, I was a bedwetter for a fucking while, dude. Like when I was little.
I mean, I can imagine, dreams and all that, especially for someone that has a predisposition for vivid ones.
Yeah, so I was like a mad bedwetter when I was a kid. I remember I get in trouble for wetting the bed. I remember I had to like start sleeping basically like on like a towel, like towel things, because like just in case I would piss myself and while I slept.
That sounds awful, Angst, because I'm just imagining your parents like scolding you after like something that's already traumatizing enough for you to wet the bed, right? And it's just like,
well, they're
oh, I just endured trauma. Fuck you! You can't do that.
Well, they
what,
just
what
thought,
do you
oh,
mean?
you need to go to the restroom before you
That
sleep.
The fact that you were
like
treated
that.
like that sounds traumatizing.
I probably was, but like, I mean, yeah, even if I wasn't like, they weren't like saying anything crazy or like, but I would just get in trouble.
No, I get that, right?
Yeah,
But it's not about the parents being evil.
Yeah.
It's about, your perception of the situation was, I went through something awful. Parents, the people in my life when I'm a kid, you are the ones I go to for help, and you fail me. And not only do you fail me, but you make it worse.
Yes,
so no shit.
I understand how fucked up it is. I lived it.
Yeah, well, I'm elaborating because
I think you're just trying to explain it to yourself, which is fine.
I'm elaborating it for the people watching on the stream.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, there you go. That's fine too. Maybe I forgot to do that. Maybe I should have.
It's a very, personality disorder kind of breeding ground. They're right there.
Yeah, that'll do some stuff. But yeah, like there was just like I have a lot of memories as a kid. I just had like a lot of weird beliefs, a lot of weird fears, a lot of just random shit, right? And this was all before, mind you, a lot of like most of this was before the incidents that happened later with the CSA.
Yeah, because we're talking like what, 9 years old with these memories.
Yeah. It was like bedwetting and all that shit, and like it was just crazy because like I don't have any recollections or memory of like like a lot of kids that are like that. Like sometimes it'll be like other issues, or sometimes there's like trauma in the home and like other shit. And there probably was. It was just probably the kind I couldn't recognize, and I couldn't look to my parents to get any answers or information. So I just had to like figure out my own coping strategies for like my fucking thoughts that freaked me out. I remember, I think I brought this up a long time ago. I used to have like these like fucked up thoughts and dreams about like the human body. Like I used to think about like, oh, like, just the fact that we're made up of guts and flesh and stuff. And like it would just like, I would just have like these like images in my head of like like this endless tunnel of this just endless tunnel of just fleshy matter. Like I would just have these like tunnels of flesh and like visions of it in my head, and they would like,
Gross.
yeah, and they would like heat me up, and they would scare me, and so I had to like imagine other things. Yeah, dude, my sleep was fucked. Like I've also mentioned this a long time ago. I used to like bang my head against the pillow to go to sleep.
Yeah, but that kind of sounds like stimming. Sounds like rocking.
Something was happening, but yeah, that was the only way I could sleep. Is I had to do fucking that. I did that
It's
shit.
the
That
same
one didn't
thing
go away
as-
until like way later. Like I was doing that shit until like I was 12 or something.
You don't have to be autistic to find, rocking to be
No, for
stimming
sure.
in a sort of
But
comforting
it was like
way.
just so crazy. Like I'm laying in bed and I'm like fucking hitting the pillow, the side of my face, and I would do that until I fell asleep. It wasn't like,
yeah.
and then apparently I was told later in life that I do that in my sleep sometimes. And I think a long time ago, my wife hadn't said anything about it, but like years ago, my wife said that one time she got woken up and I was doing that. I was doing like the thing on the pillow. It's like I'm trying to like knock thoughts out of my head or something. Like literally just knocking them out of my head. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of sort of neurodivergent recollections about a lot of different stuff. And yeah, anyway, let me go on to the next one here. Dear Angst, doing the thing I never do, answer a question with a negative. What is a negative? What does that mean?
It's like, do you remember any memories? Maybe they're answering with the lack of memories. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fine. I don't mind that. The question posed related to oddball behavior, but not entirely in line with Zoid, and maybe perhaps you're some kind of other maniac. Well, no, maniac. I can't remember ever being any kind of oddball and transitioning into a Zoid-like way of being. I've always been a recluse to the best of my ability and to the fullest extent my environment would allow. Also, I don't like being lumped in with autistic people in any way, shape, or form. I'm an ihedonic hermit stuck in life and not bothered about it. Autism is something else, and I wouldn't want to be one with that. Thanks. Yeah, it's interesting. Like
I'd be interested to know why they don't want to be lumped in with that. Like, I wonder what those perceptions mean, because
yeah,
like there being something there means there's something to explore. Not necessarily saying that they're autistic, but
well, I mean, there's a lot of negative connotations that are still to this day associated. Like, but like, it's
yeah, but that's born cliche.
okay.
I want
reality.
I'm more interested in this reason being something else besides that.
Okay,
You know what
well,
I mean?
it probably not, but maybe there is, but we'll never know. Okay, and I only have the one more, but this is a long one. Let me see. Yeah, I was hoping to get more just because I'm so interested, because I've seen people post stuff like this, and I've seen people mention on the server, and I've seen people comment stuff like this on my channel, and I was hoping some of those people were here so that they could like post this stuff. But like I have this feeling that there's probably a lot of schizoids that did have a lot of what would be considered odd or childhood behavior, and they either don't remember most of it and they're disconnected from it, or they have some memories and they chalked it up to like, oh, I was just a weird fucking kid, not a big deal, or I was just, I don't know, I don't even remember, like my parents never told me anything, but I do have some memories, but they're probably nothing. It wouldn't count.
Or
so I'm not
they
gonna talk
probably
about it.
they probably make light of it because they're either ignorant or they're I don't know. I guess unwilling to accept yet that their
maybe.
differences were grounded.
Yeah, I think it's less about, from what I can tell, usually it's less about like, oh, I don't want to be that, and more like,
Yeah, but it's not like an aggressive thing. It's more like, oh, I wasn't different because that would mean that other people in my life would have messed up in some way, and that sounds wrong. Does that make sense? It's like
No,
it.
because usually most Zoids will say, "Yeah, my parents messed up with me," but
Well,
I
I've
don't
seen a
know.
little differently, but
Yeah, maybe. Like I don't know. I don't know how
it
many
really depends.
people, but like I was thinking more along the lines of like, I don't want to think that that's the case because I'm obviously kind of functional, and I don't want to like appropriate those labels or something like that. I can imagine something like that as well.
Probably a mix of all things.
Yeah, yeah. But let me read this one right here. Um, I've been Dear Angst, I've been schizoid since infancy due to some repeated abandonment trauma, plus neglect, plus super annoying, intrusive, and exploitive parenting when my parents weren't busy abandoning me. I also made some narcissist adaptations on top of Zoid as a child because NPD behaviors probably seem pretty useful and advanced to child me. Plus, I had some good role models to learn from. Then later in teenage years, I dabbled in mild schizotypal style psychosis because I guess it felt like freedom and creativity, and had a shaman teacher for a while. Then I got disgusted with the whole shamanic charlatan vibe and shut that door for good. I only keep the creativity and the schizotypal inclinations to think up world-changing theories and go on eccentric rants. A while ago, after reading more about schizotypal PD, I tried to go slightly psychotic again. So tried to access that part that you've dealt with prior. That's interesting. Out of curiosity, and I found out that I still can. The door to the magic world is still there, and the air is actually easier to breathe on the other side. But it's not like it's actually healthy or a good idea to go there. So I won't be doing that anymore. I remember also looking into autism. Then I was still trying to explain what was wrong with me, but it didn't fit on the inside like at all. Some people have told me that they think me as slightly charmingly autistic, whatever that means. I think they just have no idea what a Zoid is and don't want to learn because schizoid is such a scary word to normal people. I think we need rebranding. Fuck that. We don't need rebranding. We need fucking them to stop fucking being little crybaby bitches about it. That's what we need. Let's see here. Fucking people be scared of words and shit. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being scared of words? That's crazy.
I mean, there's literally a phobia.
Being scared of words. Like
Yeah,
specifically.
there's like there's a really long hippopotamus phobia, where it's the fear of long words.
So like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious for freaking out.
Literally,
That's so interesting. What do they do like when they're watching stuff? Like
I don't know.
just like freeze the
I just
beat.
know it exists. I've never actually
Like
heard
they're
of
gonna
anybody
hear the
with it.
fucking word get said before it gets finished.
I don't know if it's a proper phobia. It might just be a theoretical one, but I've never heard of anybody with it. I've just heard of it. Like I know the word exists for it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, as far as I can tell, those are the only submissions I actually got from people regarding this. Um, oh,
Is it
melee
time to talk about
shadow.
myself?
No, shadow's too loud. Okay, fuck. I guess you're like really loud. Let me. No, you're good. Let me turn you.
Most people who join on Discord are too loud.
Yeah, I don't know
You
what's up
you
with that.
crank a lot of people up somehow or something.
I don't even know how that shit happens. All right, there. Shadow is a lot less loud now.
Hello, hello, hello. Testing.
Now they're gonna be
testing.
like, he's too quiet now. He's too quiet.
No, I'm never too quiet.
Nah, you're a loud motherfucker. Anyway, so yeah, like, so I definitely have some like schizo memories of when I was a kid and behaviors and all kinds of shit that like it was just built in, man. Like it was definitely not something that was learned or due to trauma because I mean, except for whatever was unconscious because of feelings of I don't know, ineptitude plus like having parental figures that don't understand what the fuck I'm about and I can't turn to because and have to kind of feel
Emphasis
internal.
on the I cannot turn to.
Yeah. Besides that kind of trauma, I didn't have anything severe enough early in life that would cause me to have developed like these um, really idiosyncratic thoughts and fears and concerns and preoccupations, even from like early childhood. It just there's nothing there, man. Like I was just a and like honestly, like sometimes I think I was thinking about it recently. This one's odd. I was thinking about it recently that like, and at one time I talked about this, but like I've been thinking about it in a different way. Cause my mom has always said some weird shit, like, but she's like really, really quote unquote normal in every way, shape, and form I could imagine. She's just she was always really good. What's it called? Housekeeper. She, you know, good cook, good this, good that, very normal, run of the mill person, not highly educated, but you know, kind enough and considerate enough. Had a lot of biases and prejudices that came with her upbringing. You know, living in Costa Rica and stuff like that. And but in general, like there was just nothing she didn't have like that I remember at least. But who knows what I remember? She didn't have like she didn't behave strangely or have like crazy mood swings, or I don't have any memories of her like I did get spanked as a kid though, because of like my um I would get in trouble a lot at school. So I would get in trouble for talking too much or like wandering off and not paying attention. And you know, the teacher would complain like often to my parents, and I guess my mom was trying to like belt it out of me somehow. Luckily, that kind of stuff isn't so popular anymore, but then she stopped doing that because I think I got so used to getting the belt on the butt from
How
getting in trouble.
often do people, or how many people think of spanking as at least normal, if not negative
Well, okay,
anymore?
so I have no, I'm not gonna judge anybody who's like, you know, hit their kid on the butt because they're just like fucking out of control and they're just trying to get them to relax about something or another. But as long I'm not gonna judge anybody for a case like having to do that as like a last resort, because I think I've had to do it like very little, and every time I did, I immediately hated it and felt really shitty about it. And but like yeah, I understand why it happens, like when you got piles of shit and literally like your kid will not fucking get in the car and is just running away from you, and like, you know, you got work, just all this shit, you know, and you need an immediate like stop doing what you're doing, and or stop fucking throwing shit or whatever it is that they're doing.
I mean, I
Or
guess I'm really sensitive, so I'm extremely biased here. So I'm just gonna
well,
leave that where it is.
yeah, I mean, if yeah, I just it's I can't judge because that I've had that occurrence very rarely, but it's happened. And um so but anything beyond that is unfathomable to me. Like just, you know, a slap on the butt because they're just not fucking listening, like after like just working with them, trying everything. And but I can't imagine the what used to be like a common practice of just basically like putting your kid over your knee bare assed and just having
Yeah,
at it.
I was just about to say, I'd
That's
imagine
wild.
you disciplining your child would be a lot different than
I would never, I
a
can't even
very angry
imagine
parent
doing that. That's
unleashing
crazy.
pent-up anger on their child.
Dude, I can't even comprehend that shit. Cause like the times that I did like um smack one of my kids in the butt, like uh I like right after the one time I felt like, oh man, I did not like that. Like, and like stop doing what they're doing, and then, you know, they fucking stop breaking shit or whatever it is that they were doing. Usually it would be something that like could put them in danger, or it would be really bad, like, you know, trying to like constantly put shit in their mouth that could hurt them. Um,
Yeah.
and you freak out. You're like, don't fucking do that, like, because you're just like, no, you're gonna fucking die, you fucking little monkey. And but I cannot imagine like just doing it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
Like,
there's a very big
just
difference
one
between
smack on the ass makes me feel bad.
afraid and desperate and unleashing literal pent-up anger on a child.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy. Like,
There's a very big difference.
it hasn't happened too many times, but like, man, bah, I'd just be like, bah, on the butt, and then sometimes it wouldn't even be hard. It would just be kind of like enough to sting, maybe, and then like I just immediately feel like, ah, fuck, hate that shit. But yeah, to just go bare assed on somebody with a belt, even more so, like with a fucking instrument. I guess it just takes a certain degree of like reinforcement, like societal reinforcement, to be okay with that. To be like, I don't know, man. I can't imagine that shit. Like, it's so crazy. Especially, like I said, bare skinned. Like, that's crazy. I think the only times I've really done that, like, they had their pants on or something, or the shorts or whatever they were wearing. But that's crazy, and especially when it's premeditated. That's even like more wild to me. Like, you know, like the kind where like I can't imagine this. That's even more crazy is the premeditated stuff where it's like, oh, you got bad grades. And now you're sitting at home going, oh man, mom or dad's gonna spank me when they get home. And they already know they're gonna do it? Like, do they come home with the intention of doing it? Like, they're like, I gotta do what I gotta do. And the whole classic, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And maybe it was just like legit the belief that that was like what was good for a child. Because it was like, maybe they legitimately did not enjoy it most of the time, and they just thought, this is what it is to be a good parent. You have to discipline your kids. Smack, 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 smack.
Think to yourself, man. I can't.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining, like, that there was some parents where, like, I'm imagining that's what my mom did. I can't imagine my mom got any pleasure out of that. And on top of that, because she was so like careful and so protective, overly protective of me in other ways, and then I remember she'd fucking, you know, she wasn't a strong lady, so that shit would, she'd fucking, her hand would probably be sore and shit after a couple wallops on my fat ass. But I don't know, man, so crazy. And then like, I hear people talking about that stuff all the time, like when they were kids. People my age, like 30s, 40s, talking about like, oh yeah, my mom would get the fucking, you know, the belt or the shoe, the fucking.
I know my father got plenty of pretty much anything his father could get his hands on.
They used to have like actual instruments for that shit. This is so crazy, like those paddles at the schools. What the fuck, man? That's fucking insane to me. Like, if a teacher fucking hurt a hair on my child, I want to fucking straight, like, rip that teacher's head off. Like Jesus Christ. Like, anyway, so, I don't know why I started talking about that. Oh yeah, my mom. And so, my mom used to tell me weird shit. Well, recently told me weird shit, like a few years ago, about like, oh, I used to go across this field when I was little, and I remember on the way to school there would be this patch of grass on the way to school where I would float over it. And like, my mom's like not senile or anything, right? She's telling me this shit in her like 50s, and I'm like looking at her like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mom? And she's like, yeah, I used to like.
She would tell you I would float over this.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. She said, I remember when I was little, there was like this patch of grass in the field that like on the way to school, I would always like, I remember I would just kind of float over it, and I thought it was fun. And I was like, and you never like figured it out? She's like, no, I thought it was fun, and it was just a little cool secret of like this little weird patch of grass that I would float over. And I'm like, and my mom, like that's why it stuck with me so long, because my mom was not the type to tell me stories like that. Growing up, she didn't tell me any of that kind of shit to me, like ever.
Definitely raises a flag.
Yeah, but I was like, what the fuck, Mom, are you talking about? And then, you know, it reminded me of that scene. I think it was from like, remember Sleepy Hollow with that Tim Burton one?
I never watched it.
Yeah, he's like, is it that one where the guy's having flashbacks of like seeing his sister and their mother like floating because they were like witches? But then like he caught them floating, and then they like went back down, and they told him nothing was happening or something. And then like it was just like, that's the kind of thing I imagined it was like. And then yeah,
floating in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, and so yeah, she's told me a bunch of stories, but usually it was about not her. It would be other family members, like talking about ghosts, talking about legendary like figures. In Costa Rica, we don't really have La Llorona. That's like more of a Mexico thing. La Llorona's fucking freaky, but for those that don't know, it's like a lady that wanders around looking for her dead children. There's like a whole story. Yeah. Well, I said for those that don't know, even if you do know, shout.
Well, I was acknowledging that I know. I was not telling you to stop.
I'm kidding, I know.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah, I'm aware. I just like to give you a fucking hard time. It's fun.
Fuck you.
Anyway, so yeah, like she would tell me about this thing called La Segua.
Yeah.
La Segua was like a horse-headed woman. And
La Segway?
La Segua.
Like
Segua. Which is, I think, a
like
female horse, I think. Or something like that. But, yeah, it would be like a lady that, like, she said that her dad had picked her up with, like, some friends, and she was this, like, hot girl, and she needed a ride, so they let her in. And that, like, her fucking, like, halfway through the drive or whatever, they were talking to her, and her fucking, like, her head, like, turned into, like, a fucking horse's head. And that they all fucking started freaking the fuck out, and then, like, he was kicking her out of, like, literally kicking her out of the fucking car. Like, just fucking shoving her out, and she was just, like, neighing like a fucking horse, like, the head. And just like, yeah, and I'm just like, it's fucking crazy, Mom. Like, she's telling me that that's what her dad experienced and other types of shit. I got like stories about like her aunts, which would be her sisters, seeing like gnomes, because I guess gnomes are a thing. Duendes are a thing in Costa Rica. That, you know, that's like a thing people say happens, or like, you know, maybe they just tell their kids. But yeah, she says that she had her sisters would experience or see gnomes essentially run around and shit. And she would like, it's so weird though, because like when I remember like a lot of the stories, not the floating grass thing was like more recent, but a lot of the weird stories about weird shit about her family encountering stuff or seeing stuff, like it would always be like randomly, she would just randomly drop a story because it reminded her. She'll be like, oh, that reminds me, I had an uncle and he was walking around the, you know, cemetery, and he, you know, saw, like, he kept feeling like people touching his shoulders, and he was one of the, and then of course I come from a line, like generations of fucking crypt keepers and shit, like just so much fucking bullshit, like so much stuff that like I remember growing up, like I would like think like, oh man, like, you know, can I talk to ghosts or something? Like,
you brought up before that it sounded to you like your mother would come up with these stories, like on the fly, that weren't actually what happened. And I wonder, you know, you probably have come to this kind of theory yourself, but I wonder how much schizo is there.
I don't know, but that's what's so weird. Like, my mom was like, And when she would
Because
talk
it
about
doesn't
this
sound
stuff,
like
she didn't.
premeditated.
No,
right?
it
And
wasn't.
doesn't
And
sound
then like,
insidious or anything.
and they were like stories that I remember some of them got confirmed because other family members said they happened, or that the story was around in the family or whatever about this or that. And yeah, and so yeah, but I started thinking about that stuff differently. I just started thinking like, what if like there is some like schizo shit going around in on my mom's side of the family, and my dad's hella fucking weird in other ways. And so yeah, I'm just trying to think like, where the hell is that coming from? And but when she would tell these stories, it weren't like, she wasn't telling me like, oh, they really happened. Like, she's more like,
It was
well,
more
they
like
say
a
this is what
bedtime story,
happened.
right?
No, bedtime. They were scary and weird.
I meant like,
yeah.
in
It was just
some-
like, oh, something the
it was like a
family says
casual
happened,
thing
or
they would
your
bring up.
uncle said happened, or you know. And so she never really had stories about shit that happened to her. Like, it wasn't until much later that she just happened to bring up about the floating patch of grass. And she wasn't like a liar. She didn't go around making shit up
that's
or
what I
anything in any other way in other instances. She was a pretty honest lady. And yeah, like, she told me about the floating over the grass. And I tried to ask her questions because I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mom? And she just kind of like, I don't know. I just remember, you know, it floated, and I don't know what was going on with that little patch in the field and this and that.
Yeah, like it obviously doesn't bother her that she thought.
No, like to her, like
it's
these
not
stories,
raising any
it's just
flags
like,
to her.
no. I mean, it was just a thing.
It was
I don't
just a
know.
fun thing.
She's like, it's just a thing, and she's like, you know, the world's strange. The world's really weird. There's weird stuff in it. She's like religious too. Like she's scared of shit like anything that has to do with like demons or anything like a-religious or anti-religious or like blasphemous. She's not a zealot, but it freaks her out. She's like, oh no.
What about your wardrobe?
Well, well, she's like she'll kind of dismiss it. Like, she'll look at my clothes with like Baphomet and shit on it, and she'll just be like, she'll look at it and she'll just be like, ay. Like in Spanish, she'll say, ay, porque te pones estas cosas, and like she'll be like, why are you? She's like, why do you wear these things? Like, why do you wear these things? Oh, you're so crazy. You wear the craziest things. And like, she would just kind of dismiss it like that. Like, but if I ever tried to like play movies or do stuff around her that had that kind of stuff, she'd be like, oh, no. Get that shit off my TV. No. And
Mom, you killed demons in this one. No.
I don't want that shit. So yeah, if it had themes like that, like, yeah, I couldn't tell my mom if I was playing a video game or something. She didn't like that shit at all. And
like, Mom, I'm killing them.
They're my friends. Anyway,
no, they're not your friends. That's the whole point.
Well, if I'm playing Super Nintendo Shin Megami or some shit, they were my friends. But
no, I'm talking Doom.
Oh, Doom? Oh well, yeah, that's true. No, yeah, you're right. If you're going old school, yeah, I'm killing him, Mom. But yeah,
like Diablo
like,
2.
So yeah, all that. Yeah, well, I was a little older by then. Like, I was like I don't know, like
Diablo
freshman
2 old to me,
or sophomore year of high school for me. I was like sophomore year.
You
of
can
high
tell
school.
I'm not that old.
No, you're a youngster. But yeah, and that wasn't like the only stuff she told me. It was just like the other, but that was the only one where it involved her. All the other stories she ever told me were like family members had weird shit happening to them and like this and that, and blah blah blah. And so like, yeah, it fucked with me. Back when I first heard it, it was a few years ago that she told me that, but it is more recent. Probably I think I was like 7 years ago or something. She told me that shit about the floating. And yeah, but then I started like thinking about like, oh man, like what's up with my thoughts? Like when I was a kid, I got fucking UFOs, fucking weird flesh tunnel, scary things. I thought there was stuff in the shadows that I could like fight off with my like energy or mind power as a kid or some shit. Like, yeah, like all kinds of crazy shit like that. Or I would think about.
I didn't have all that stuff. I only had, my dreams and sparsely at that, right?
Yeah,
I didn't have anything while I was awake.
No, yeah, I had all kinds of weird thoughts and magical thinking happening as a kid to cope with shit. Like I would use it to cope with things that just were so scary and overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do with them, and I didn't know how to tell anybody, and I couldn't tell anybody, and if I did tell somebody, they would just my mom or would tell me, "Oh, it's nothing, it's okay, it's just your imagination, it's just a scary dream. Don't think about it." That was like her solution to everything. Maybe that's how she fixed her problems.
Yeah, I
I don't
didn't cope with like dreams. I coped with like Legos or like cars or blocks.
Yeah, I coped by like creating ways to combat it in my own head to deal with the spooky things in the dark that I would feel presences of and things. And it's just the what's funny is how nowadays, like now I'm like that's like literally what I'm most into is all that freaky weird shit. Now it brings me comfort. It doesn't scare me anymore like the same way that it did as a kid. So I don't know. Now I really enjoy it in a weird way. But yeah, I don't know why I went off on that tangent. I think it was about like questioning whether there was some kind of other shit going on my side of my mom's side of the family.
Yeah, it was.
But there was no other evidence. I met my aunts when I went over there when I was like 12 or something. I met my aunts. I have some memories sort of being there. And I didn't see any weird behaviors. Like I didn't hear weird stories. Like nothing crazy. I mean, the craziest thing about my mom's side of the family that I'm aware of is that cemetery thing, where like they had a few generations of keepers of a specific cemetery. It wasn't a huge one, but it was a smaller one, but it was still very much in use. And they had a crypt, and so they would move. They'd have to like exhume the bodies of older bodies, like skeletons, to like put them in the crypt so that they can make room for new ones. And so because there's only so much dirt you can stick them in property, and so yeah. There's some fucking freaky ass old shit.
Do you know if anybody in your family was diagnosed with anything? Like, for example,
that's the thing, man. Like, they wouldn't have, because like I didn't have. I'm what is it? Second generation, I guess. My dad and my mom. Like, my dad was American, but what's crazy is he was Costa Rican, but he lived in the United States, so he's ethnically he was from there, and he had grown up partially there, but he came here. I don't know how. I never got answers to that stuff, and he got adopted, and so he had like parents here that adopted him, but I think they were also from those regions. I don't remember. And he grew up in the States. My mom grew up over there. Really, really poor and all this sort of stuff. And like he, I guess, met her there, and then he brought her over here. So what's kind of bananas is, I mean, there's not a history of that kind of stuff that's ever been talked about or brought up or anything like that. And on my mom's side, it's even like more sparse, because like they didn't believe in that shit over there. Like they'd sooner probably think you gotta fucking go pray at the church than go see a psychologist. And and now my dad's side, since he was adopted, like his bio line was like, I don't know, I don't have access to it. So yeah, for all I know, there was like fucking all kinds of schizos and shit, like on either my mom or dad's side. But it
was only within the last year that I even found out that my great aunt has schizophrenia, and that I learned just how significant a lot of autistic stuff runs in my mom's side of the family as well. But I have very little information about my father's side.
Yeah, that shit's wild, man. Like, especially like nowadays, it's gonna be so easy. Like, future generations of like they're gonna have like literal fucking digital records where you could just be like, oh, what was Grandpa diagnosed with? Oh, here we go. Oh, Grandpa, or great grandfather, Angst. What was he diagnosed with? Oh, look, he was schizoid. He had these problems according to the record. These were his health issues. Like, it's just all gonna be there. But like,
Like my great nephews will be able to look at this literal podcast and be like, "Hi,
oh
so
look,
this
it's
is how
great
he
grandpa,
thought."
and maybe
Yeah.
this is why I have some of the issues I have now and stuff. Like, they
No,
could actually,
great uncle.
great
Don't
uncle.
you dare hit me with great grandpa.
Oh yeah, great uncle. Sorry. And well, you have siblings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's why. And so, yeah, so they're gonna have some kind of point of reference to some degree. But like, I think I was like one of the last generations that probably had to have that that they're gonna have that trouble, because a lot of it was like
really changed the world.
pre-internet. Yeah, so they're gonna have that trouble of like being able to like find out what kind of predispositions their family. Yeah, but eventually we're gonna get to a point where it's gonna be irrelevant, right? Once they start throwing the fucking AI algorithm into our bodies and shit, so that they can figure out everything's Gattaca mode, and just so can do that
I wouldn't
shit.
go there just yet.
We're gonna get there quick, dude. Like, so fucking fast. I think I give it like 15 years before we got the tech for that kind of shit. And but
We don't even have a
hey,
fucking
ChatGPT, give me
hoverboard from
summary and
Back to the
brief.
Future yet.
Dude, nobody gives a shit about that. They're not gonna make that. It's not profitable.
It's a dumb.
Fucking hoverboards and shit. Hey, ChatGPT, give me summary and brief overview of any diagnosed mental health disorders within the last 3 generations of my family. Exactly. You're gonna have some shit like that. Rolando, many schizoids, at least one of their parents is a real toxic narcissist. They say the zoid just retreats to himself, develops antisocial. Yeah,
I think
the
the
narcissist
narcissist
thing.
is sometimes.
Sometimes.
I don't think it's always.
Nah, like.
I think it's a very common trope, but I do not believe in always.
Yeah, definitely not. I know plenty of schizoids that have all the shit and they have a narcissistic parent. In fact, some of them describe their parents as being like conventionally good parents that they just never connected to. Like, they're just like, I never really fully connected to my parents, but I don't hate
Like,
them.
I understand the narc
them.
because it breeds the treat child as an object.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of times when like autistic trauma comes into play where you feel like you cannot rely on your parents. It's not necessarily that you feel like an object is always the only important factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just neglect. A kid cannot tell the difference between well, I mean, they could probably tell it, but to some degree, but like some parts of the kid's brain cannot tell the difference between intentional and unintentional neglect.
Well, even if it's not, right? A child that fundamentally understands that they cannot rely on their parent for things that are important to them, intentional or not, the fact that remains they can't rely on their parent, right? So that's pretty much what matters.
And they're going to have to deal with anything that's traumatic by themselves on their own. Figure that shit out. Like, yeah, that's what's going to happen every fucking time. And yeah, it's going to cause a lot of fucking problems. So yeah, it definitely doesn't take a narc. Definitely doesn't take a narc at all to develop these defenses or whatever. But it definitely takes a weird ass kid, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just saying like a weird ass kids like me, and I bet so many of you, man. I really doubt most schizoids had. I was totally normal kid without fucking any kind of signs of strange, abnormal, unconventional behavior, preoccupations, all this sort of stuff. I feel like almost every fucking schizoid can tell me, like, yeah, either that or they don't have fucking memories. They're just like, I don't remember, maybe, and they're so fucking disconnected from that shit that they can't even imagine like adapting to a bunch of behaviors because like you had to, and then also being disassociated from like your childhood, so then like you're like, yeah, but I'm good at doing this now. It's like, yeah, but like it's still put upon, right? Like it's still something that you don't like to do, even though you can do it. It's like, yeah, what if it used to be something you just couldn't do, but now you can do it, even if you don't like it, but you couldn't do it at all before. And then if you fucking can't remember half the shit that was going on, then how can you even confirm anything? Like, it's so fucking ridiculous, man. Shit's so fucked. It's so fucked.
I know it's of your belief that all schizoids are neurodivergent. Yes or no?
No, they're either autistic or schizos growing up. There's something.
Do you think that's going to? Do you think? Would you be willing to concede that it's not? It's not like a requirement to be neurodivergent, especially as the future comes in, and then we are in an age where communities.
You're gonna have something else happen because.
Do you know where? Do you know?
Yeah,
where I'm
I know what you're
from?
talking about. Oh, the schizoid age. No, no, not at all.
Well, because before, and I want to articulate this.
Mm-hmm.
Before, the idea is even if you couldn't rely on your parents,
Mm-hmm.
you would rely on someone else, right? Because you would have that interconnectedness and the option to find someone else. And if not someone else within your immediate family, then a neighbor, then a friend at school, a teacher, etc., etc.
Oh, you're saying because you're but you're gonna have the internet. You're always gonna have someone else.
But do you think
Always.
that the requirement before might be lifted after you are deprived of options?
No, but you won't be deprived of options.
More...
No, that's my point. As long as you have the way the internet's growing and your ability to actually find other people you can relate to and connect to, it's not gonna increase. It's gonna decline.
I don't know.
Because this is what's funny.
I think physicality is a very big important thing.
It can be. It's gonna have an impact for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's gonna have more of an impact. I think the internet is gonna ultimately have more of a negative impact on neurotypical people than neurodivergent people. I think for neurodivergent people, it's going to be a net positive.
Oh, okay, but that's not my point.
No, I know, but I don't think they're going to turn.
Neurotypical
I don't think
person
they're going to turn schizoid.
No.
No, I don't think that's enough for them to get, because they're still going to have human beings around them, unless everyone's like literally doesn't leave their home and just fucking,
that's what I mean,
like
right?
They're trapped in their apartments and they're not allowed to go anywhere or some shit.
What if you had that situation, right?
If you had that situation,
imagine a very stereotypical narcissistic parent and very cut off from other family members.
I mean, but I don't know if that's going to equal schizoid. I think that's just going to equal something, but avoidance maybe. But I just don't. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. I get what you're saying. Like, okay, here. How about this? I'll give you this. I agree with you to a certain point. If you got like let's just say you got a neurotypical kid, like in every way, conventional way possible, doesn't have any kind of abnormalities, quote unquote, in their brain. Everything's fucking, hunky dory, right? And then you get that kid, and then you put them in an environment where everyone around them is like some degree of autistic, and they're not autistic at all, but their parents, their peers, society that they inhabit has that predisposition. That's normal. That's how humans are. That's normal. And you got what we understand currently to be what a neurotypical person is, and you put them in that environment from childhood, yeah, okay, that's how you'll get a neurotypical schizoid, in my opinion.
Because there is the caveat of you are of the belief that you have not met any neurotypical schizoids yet. No,
I haven't. But that's only because there might be one out there that had a very, very, very unique childhood. It would require them, in my opinion, to have like some schizo or autistic parents that can't connect to them and they can't connect back, and they don't have access to other people like schoolmates or anybody else. They live like on a fucking island, and all they have is like these people that don't understand them, don't understand their needs, don't understand their preoccupations, dismiss their fears and discomforts and needs because, you know, that's not normal, that's not what is required, you should be fine. Like, if they lived on an island like that, yeah, they could develop this, yes. I think that's what it would require. But that's not gonna happen because there's never gonna be a majority.
So then, do you think neurodivergents are extremely overrepresented because of that degree of difference in bias in society?
Neurodivergents are underrepresented.
Okay, so it's like
population-wise.
A schizoid being neurodivergent is overrepresentative of the disorder because of the bias in society for most people not being neurodivergent.
Okay, yes.
You know what I mean?
Fine. Like, okay, yeah, like I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just it would require so many parameters that it's so unlikely that it's statistically, in my opinion, based on my beliefs, is statistically unlikely that that's going to be occur.
I'm just chewing on this thought because
it's almost a waste of time to think about.
Yeah, I know. To you, it's like it can be like boring.
It's not boring. It's just like a waste of time. It's like thinking about like a bunch of theoreticals.
Potato.
Like that, just like add up to like, okay, yeah. What if my mom had wheels instead of legs? Like, okay.
I don't know. It just kind of nags me that that's not a very common belief.
No, but good.
Especially when you
it's not. It's not common. I'm very radical.
Right?
I'm a radical person.
So that's why I like kind of chew on it, even though it can be.
Hold on. Good enough said something on here. So would you consider BPD other PDs neurodivergent? I mean, look, if you want to go down like, if you want to get into like the specific any kind of brain plasticity differences due to trauma, you're gonna call that neurodivergence. Fine, we can call that. But I'm talking about like cognitive, like fundamental, born with cognitive neurodivergence type shit. I'm talking about the born with shit. I'm not talking about.
Yeah, we're not talking about the personality disorder being neurodivergence. We're talking about like a certain cognitive neurodivergence is the requirement into developing something
this
like schizoid.
Particular type of. It's the trauma of being born neurodivergent and having you being particularly sensitive to the difficulties of growing up neurodivergent, or having an environment that was particularly neglectful or difficult for you to navigate, and then having a predisposition to have these sort of defenses, which could be partially genetic as well. But
I'm chewing on the opinions of the opposition.
No, that's that. But there's no opposition. I mean, with I mean, there is opposition. Yeah, you're right. There are some like Eleanor
dissenting opinion.
Eleanor Greenberg doesn't agree with me on this one. Eleanor doesn't agree with me. She's like, she's of the she said, well, there's probably a higher chance that neurodivergent people will end up with schizoid PD.
I think the higher chance might be so much higher.
It just
makes it a theoretical.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just so unlikely because. As if you're neurotypical, you're gonna find something in your environment, even if like you're fucked up and think you can never achieve it, and your self-esteem's in the trash. Like you're still gonna be able to recognize that there are things that you're motivated to work toward and get and want that are intuitive because your environment provides it, even if you can't like achieve it or you think you're worthless and can't and whatever. Like, there's still stuff around you. Even if your parents are trash, you're going to find, like, peers. You're going to find other family members that you're going to be able to, like, more or less connect or mirror and learn from and shit like that. That aren't going to be fucking alien, right? But a lot of neurodivergent kids, unless they were lucky enough to have a sibling or peers of a similar, cognitive disposition, plus there was an awareness from the parents of such a thing, or the authority figures like teachers and shit, then you can have a less of a likelihood of developing something like schizoid PD, in my opinion.
On that logic, though, would you say not necessarily a cure, but the way that a neurotypical would get out of developing something like schizoid, because they would be able to find
They could look around the world, look at the people around them, and
they
see
could look
things
around the
that they want.
find connection and
things that
support
that
for
are
their mind.
intuitively motivating and make them want to live, make them want to use those things to construct a sense of self that's cohesive. They can ask questions, get answers that make sense to them.
What about the schizoids that don't find that same community as a neurotypical would when they go into similar spaces of neurodivergency? Like, I don't find... I do, but I also don't when I go into autistic spaces. Like, it does explain a good amount of things, and it is helpful, but it's not, like... It's not what a neurotypical would be having in your context if a neurotypical were to find connections with friends. You know what I mean?
Repeat that. More concise, please.
And a neurotypical would find connections, so they would get out of the schizoid personality disorder.
Well,
because
they wouldn't.
I
don't think they would develop it. I think it takes years to develop. It's not like something that, oh, 1 or 2 years, or like, oh, a couple of things happened when you were. I don't really buy the whole. A couple of things happened when you were a baby, and now you're just like fucked, like for life, and now you have a personality disorder, and there ain't nothing that's gonna shake it out of you. Like I just. Like, within the first 3 years of your life. Like, I don't know, man. That takes a...
Hot take, I kind of disagree.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Kind of.
I think something like Schizoid PD takes a fucking while. It takes a fucking
I think
while.
It definitely does, like, there's a complex PTSD factor here that is integral to schizoid. But I have memories of like 4 to 6 years old, and I'm sure you've seen my recent personal ramble.
Yeah.
But I can only speak from anecdotal evidence, but I think there is a extremely... Which is
worthless, just shut the fuck up. No, I'm just kidding.
Extremely important factor that is set up, like a seed being planted, right? It's not the thing that breaks you, but it is a seed.
There could be a seed. No, yeah, I mean, I agree with the seed component. There's definitely seeds, but whether that fucking the flower of darkness blooms, it kind of fucking depends, right? On the consistent behaviors of the people around you and everything else, and so on and so forth.
So then, on that analogy, do you think someone who would be liable to develop schizoid personality disorder if they are neurodivergent wouldn't have that seed blossom where they define connection before it would hit them?
Yeah.
Whenever it
100%. 100%. That's what...
So then the issue is for the ones who have had the seed blossom.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think there's probably going to be, if there's an acknowledgement, if any of the stuff, if I'm right in any capacity, and it actually got looked into, and if I'm correct in any way, that's why I think there would be progressively less schizoids with the advent of the internet and an acknowledgement of what might be happening here. Because then it's like, oh, it's just a matter of making sure that neurodivergent kids have a place that they can grow up around and have an environment or people around them that are also neurodivergent in a similar fashion that they could learn from, they can mirror, that are older ones that they can
and
mirror,
definitely
adults they
to
can learn from, access to information,
to different media
and information.
Well, specifically media, right?
Even media, yeah.
The more media that actually agrees with them and gives them insight. Like, for example, I really like Kingdom Hearts. Bring it up all the time.
Jesus Christ.
There's other Western media that do a really good job, in my opinion, of articulating trauma, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a child that plays, maybe you have like a 14-year-old that plays the new God of War stuff, then that's very like relatable to them, and they find some sort of connection through the media.
Yeah, that could be kind of useful, but the problem with that version, I don't really do the media version.
It's not foolproof. I know.
No, it's got a lot of problems because the problems is that then media becomes your father, mother, parent.
Yeah, and I'm very well aware, but it's still
it was mine. So I get
something.
No,
some schizoids don't even have that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, some of us can find some solace in that kind of stuff. But
Ideally, it would be a person.
it has to
but
be a
in
person.
lack
It has
thereof,
to be a person growing up. It has to be people. It can't just be one person either. It can't be like Uncle Ted who fucking nobody talks to, that you have to sneak into his house and have a
Be
conversation,
Uncle
and he
Ted.
tells you about
Why'd you say
aliens.
Uncle Ted of all people?
I don't know, but like, point is, it can't be the one guy. I mean, that could be oh, it's even funnier.
Can't be
Yeah,
Uncle Ted that
it
sends
can't
you
be just
nice
the
letters,
one
everybody.
Uncle Ted that you have. It has to be like a consistent level of people in your life that are neurodivergent in the same way, that you can learn from, that can guide you, that know how to, like, because they had the same fucking panic attacks or concerns or worries or preoccupations you did in a different way, and so they understand what you're going through, and then they know how to talk to you about it in a way that makes sense to you because they understand that has to happen, like blah blah blah, like if you have that kind of shit.
J-Reg territory with mentors, but from a neurodivergent.
Yeah, mentors. Yeah, you fucking need mentors. 100% mentors. But you need neurodivergent mentors for neurodivergent kids.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any, you can't. You're looking left, you're looking right, all over the fucking place, and you don't have any. It's gonna fuck you up. It's gonna fuck you up real bad. It's not gonna let you fucking construct a cohesive sense of self. You're gonna have that fucking wibbly wobbly sense of identity. Jacob Mason says, I remember being dropped off at kindergarten for the first time, and my brain has been damaged ever since. Probably already damaged, to be honest, but that was the defining break moment. I mean, yeah, I can imagine, especially if all you had before was like your parents, and then you finally have to interact with peers, like strangers, in a consistent way, and then it's just like, oh, what the fuck is going on? And and first day of school, you got all these worries and concerns, or you're confused, or you're kind of freaked out. You don't understand why. You don't have the language for it because you're a little kid, and you don't have parents that can even perceive that you're fucking under distress because you don't show it the same way or whatever.
It seems like one of a defining characteristic of schizoid seed being planted is like a sort of like the perspective of I am being abandoned by my parents. Like they are refusing me. I cannot go.
Yeah, it's gonna feel that way, even if like they're not doing that.
Yeah,
it's gonna.
So
yeah.
from a very
my parents are
neurodivergent
not taking care of me.
It obviously is hard to see because it's from a neurodivergent perspective.
Yeah.
This is how they're abandoning me because this is how I wouldn't be abandoned, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but even you don't have the answers to what you need, right? You don't even know what it is.
Because you're a kid,
you're just
right?
scared.
Obviously.
You're just scared and you're afraid and you're confused. And mommy and daddy are the ones that should be able to fix it. But when they can't fix it or do anything to comfort you because they don't even know it's happening, then yeah, you're kind of fucked. You're kind of fucked. And you're kind of end up in the situation that I think creates the schizoid, man. But like I said, man, I'm seeing strides. I did it for myself. I've seen other people do it. I'm not saying like somebody that's a schizoid now and they're like mid-20s or 30s or whatever, that they're older, it's just gonna fucking, you just gotta hang out with people that are schizoid and you're just gonna fucking feel better. You're gonna just be magic and everything's gonna go away.
think after the flower blossoms, it's a completely different battle.
Yeah. But it's a different battle, but at least you can have some solace. You can have some,
but not an impossible
one or two people like that you could finally connect to and like have in your life that you can at least start like piecing together some other parts of yourself and other shit like that, and then maybe recover from aspects of it. Like there's a bunch of stuff that I don't know that I'm ever gonna like fully recover from that are my defenses or whatever. Like and part of it might just be my personality, I don't know, but I don't need I'm never gonna need a lot of validation from a lot of people. I'm never gonna need a lot of friends. That is never gonna happen. I don't want a lot of friends. A lot of people would be perfectly happy with people saying, you're my friend, and having like a lot of people say that's like something that would fucking probably fill somebody with joy to be loved by a lot of people.
My own parents, whenever we would argue, that constant assertion of we love you and we are a family. I'm just like, I could not care less. That doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, and so I that's never gonna change. I'm always gonna just need a handful of people. I got my handful of people right now. Like I got a handful of people that I trust and I care about and I love, and that's fine. That's good enough. And then I have people after that that I respect, and that and so on and so forth. And so there's that camaraderie there. And then yeah, like my circle of people that I can really get close to is very very small compared to like the average person's. um, but that's okay, at least I got it now, right? Like that's kind of what I think of. Like I go, mine is probably never going to be like a regular person's, or even like a happy or schizo person or autist or whatever, like that has like more friends and they like having more friends and stuff like that. Like I'm never going to be that person, but that's okay. I don't need to be. I'm just happy I got something now.
I like meeting people. I don't really care to
Well,
like
I love
foster a stable
conversations too.
connection.
I love
Yeah,
conversations about
right.
topics. But
Like I don't
yeah,
mind meeting people and having new conversations, but it's mostly just the stable connections that I'm not
I don't need to.
too interested
I
in having
couldn't
with a lot
develop
of
those
people.
before. The only person I ever developed it with was my wife, my now wife, and even then, like I wasn't like the most interactive partner for a long time, like in various ways, or compromising partner in various ways when it came to like stuff that I didn't want to do or take part in. And then like my other friend that I met, uh, which is that Dumb Money Media guy. But that guy's insane,
That
and
guy is insane. You
yeah,
are
but that's
right.
why I really care about him, because like I accidentally, like I just happened to meet him. He's batshit crazy. He doesn't give a shit about like a lot of social norms, and he doesn't have hangups about like what it is to be a friend and all this other stuff. So I accidentally met like a dude that's fucking nuts, and he became my bro. And you know, I could say misanthropic shit or talk about like just feeling all this or that, and he'd just be like, "Yeah, man. Well, that's weird, but that's okay. I don't give a shit. Let's play League." And like he would just be like, you know, he would say some fucking Uncle Ted sounding shit, and like I don't know, man. That guy was like an accidental friend. Um, that guy was an accidental friend. Like if I would have met him, I don't think I would have had a single friend that I connected to. Even with that guy though, even with him, it took a long time for me to
Did
be
you find
like,
him over the internet?
I know I found him. I found him through somebody else. Yeah, and I found him through somebody else that I was also talking to a lot, and it was like, you know, and it was just I don't know, and then because it was like through playing League, it was like playing League, and then just and then I'm like
I
this.
asked that because
Yeah, this
I
guy's
had my own
crazy, and then we just
experience.
kept talking, and like this guy's crazy. I'm comfortable with this guy. He's fucking nuts, and he doesn't ask
I
me
had
questions about me or anything, huh?
sorry.
No, go ahead. Talk about yourself somewhere.
You've been talked about
I know,
yourself
I know. I'm
way
fucking
more than
with
I
you.
have
It's gonna be the new
this
joke.
stream.
It's gonna be the new joke. You talk to yourself about yourself too much.
I asked you if you met him on the internet, in
Yeah.
reference to your earlier statement
Yeah.
about how the internet makes things easier for neurodivergence,
Mm-hmm.
because
For
I
sure.
had my own experience. I don't necessarily talk with this person, and we don't have like a stable quote unquote friend relationship, but they were integral to being like a genuine mentor for me when dealing with my nightmares. So
Yeah.
also referencing that whole mentor thing in the
Mentor,
internet.
baby.
People like Kingdom Hearts is great and all, but it didn't do. It wasn't like a real person helping me through nightmares, you know.
No, man. No, I mean, it really isn't. Like, it always takes an actual mentor, yeah, an actual person, a human being that you can connect to that's gone through the same shit you have, and to some degree, sometimes older, and they could tell you how they got through it, what mistakes they made, what regrets they might have, how they managed this or that, and then you learn from them, and then you're like, wait, this person understands my lived experience. Holy shit! And you respect them, and inside your mind, they gain credibility because and competency and actually being able to help you and talk to you. And yeah, that goes a long fucking way, man. That goes a long fucking way. Now imagine having a lot of that stuff in your life, or your own parents being those people. Like, goddamn.
Honestly, it almost like makes me aversive. It almost grosses me out in a way, because it's just like, oh, being connected to people, because you know the whole bias of I'm not supposed to be connected because they don't understand me. But
yeah, it's hard.
The idea is that they would understand me, and so that's just a new concept.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a fucking rough. It's a rough time. It's a rough time. It's not all fun games getting over this shit and working on it. But it's possible. It's doable. I don't think Schizoid PD is a permanent thing. I do not. There's too much neuroplasticity and things going on.
Oh yeah, neuroplasticity is huge. You can almost reframe an entire brain, and it has, you know, even ways, in other areas compared to.
And I'm not saying like, oh, you're gonna get somebody that's a schizoid and be like, oh, you know, all those things that you don't connect to, you don't give a shit about when it comes to like, you know, like normative behavior and normative motivations. Like, oh, you're gonna get better, and then you're gonna see those things. You're gonna be like, I like those things too. So cool. I now feel the power of, you know, social, interpersonal forms of. Conventional interpersonal forms of like joy and connection. Like, I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen, and that sounds terrifying. I can imagine that would sound terrifying to most schizoids out there. Like, it sounds like a fucking some kind of brainwashing, scary ass nightmare. But no, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying you're gonna get better and then you're gonna be like everybody else. I'm saying schizoids can get better by getting the things they need and want that will basically look like not everybody else. And
by getting the things they want, that would help them.
And finding out what those things even are first. Step one, like find out first.
It's like finding the tools that you need for yourself.
Yeah, because otherwise you're
this is what I wanted. These are the tools to help me figure out what I want.
Yeah, you already abandoned the normative tools because those fucking shits were useless. Just sitting there with like a, you know, it's like everyone keeps handing you flatheads, but you need a Phillips. Like, and you're just like, and you never seen a Phillips, but all you have is fucking screws that require it, and all you have is this big fat stupid flathead that you keep trying to like use the corner of to turn the screws, and everyone else is doing just fucking fine, just turning the fucking screws because they got the flathead that they need. And yeah, finding that fucking Phillips. Yeah.
There's still an aspect of getting over like childhood traumas, but there's also the aspect of having, you know, the new screwdriver and able to forge a new life, because lacking that kind of freezes you in time still.
I mean, I think it would be pretty based to still have a personality disorder that you have to work on and deal with, but now you have support and help and you can connect to a few people. Yeah,
right. It's
cool. Like, that's a lot better.
You're kind of set for who you are now, but in the context of you're set in the ways of you need these tools now instead of those tools.
Yeah, you got your own tools, and then you got people that use your tools, and then you can use your tools with them, and then you know, find connection through that because you're using those weird tools that they use too, that most people don't use.
Like, I needed way different tools than I would have needed as a child, because the mentor that had helped me in my much later years was someone who was schizophrenic. And if I were helped by someone who was schizophrenic when I was younger, it would have made no sense to me whatsoever, because I wouldn't have had the emotional disconnect and the predilection to develop my like nightmares and daydreaming and stuff like that.
Yeah, but like my point is, even if a grown ass, like, self-aware, has worked on it for years, very self-embracing autistic adult I can imagine they could do, if they were interested in doing that, they could work with like kids that were like them and just like know how to talk to them in still kid language. But
What I meant was I needed a different tool after I got older than I would have needed as a kid.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it would have been a different kind of approach. Yeah, a different kind of mentor. Of course, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the same person would have been able to do the same thing, but I don't know. It just depends on their capability of being able to translate into a more childlike language.
Not in the same way, at least.
That need to be learned and such.
The lessons they gave me later in life were not the lessons I needed earlier in life.
Like, I think my daughter has, I'm going to get her assessed for it, but I think she has ADHD because, like, she basically has a bunch of the attention and memory issues and everything else that I had growing up. And I'm seeing them, and she's, like, developing her own, like, internal difficulties with it, right? But, because, you know, even if you're, you know, dealing with ADHD, like, you grow up with a lot of shame of like, I'm stupid, apparently I can't listen, my brain's fucked up, I forget stuff, so I have to pretend like I heard them when I didn't hear them. I keep zoning out. Why do I keep doing that? People get mad at me. I must be stupid, I must be bad. And like yeah, and like I could see that kind of stuff, not because
things
of us.
You just explained to me sounds like something my brother's told me before.
Yeah, well,
I gotta get that checked out.
But with my daughter, like, you know, she's dealing with these insecurities, these issues, but when I hear her say stuff, or when I see her, I can recognize them, and I could see the difficulty she's having, and so then I can sit down with her and I can have a conversation of like, hey, is this what's happening? Do you do this? Like, you shouldn't feel ashamed about that, and I want to, you know, I want to get this checked out because it really doesn't look like you're doing anything intentional. And it doesn't, like, and she's got like all this, like, one of the first signs was like, for me, about that kind of shame and stuff is that like she just constantly puts like a lot of pressure on herself for school and to get good grades. But like we're the kind of parents that were just like, hey, just come home with some B's. That shows you tried your best. If we know you tried your best and you fucking only managed a C, but we saw that you did your work and you tried your fucking best, like, we're not gonna fucking chew you out for it. We're gonna help you, like, to whatever we can if you want to see that boost go up. And
my parents also said that, and when I did try my best and got a C, they didn't think I was being, or they thought I wasn't trying to.
Yeah, classic. And so, like, yeah. So that, like, there's certain things, like with my daughter, there's certain things that we find acceptable and not acceptable when it comes to like why she got a bad grade. Like, acceptable is I studied and I tried, but I failed or I had difficulties. It's like, okay, let's work together and see what we can do. That's it. Like, no, we're not upset with you. Upset with you would be I kept what's the word? I put something off till the last minute and never informed you guys that it was something that was going to be due at the end of the week. And that's like, that can't happen. Like, we already know you have problems with this stuff, so you need to tell us. You need to give us that piece of paper the teacher gave you. Like, that's something you need to actively work on. And she has improved at that stuff, but that's the kind of stuff that's like, okay. Because that's a matter of putting some work into just doing like some basics so that we can support her. But if that's not happening, that's her bad, and she needs to improve that behavior, because fuck, and she has. And so now she gives us the sheets, and she remembers to, like, so that we know, like, to remind her, oh, remember you got that thing due at the end of the week. And if she
also trusts you to give you sheets and trusts you to ask for help, right?
And so if she's like, oh yeah, if we tell her, like, if it's like due on Friday and she hasn't done much on it and it's Wednesday, she'll throw a fit, but like we'll tell her, like, okay, it's time to fucking work. Like, not like that, but we'll be like, it's time to work on it. You're working on this today. You're gonna spend like 2 hours on this. And
that she even
like,
trusts you enough.
I don't want to. I want to just. I'm tired. I don't want to do that. Blah blah blah. And that's when you have to be parents. We just gotta be like, nah, you're doing it. You're doing it. Get on that chair. Do it. I don't care if it sucks or you're uncomfortable. Like, you're just like, don't want to do it. Blah blah blah. Just get that homework, timeline, project, whatever it is. Just get it done. If you need my help, cool. If you don't want my help, cool, whatever. Just get it done, get working on it. And then it's funny because it was like an ongoing cycle of like, the end of the week would happen, and then their shit's all done, and then they turn it in, and they're like, and then we're just like, weren't you glad you did it earlier this week? And they're like, yeah, I'm glad I finished it because now I'm not freaking out. And I'm like, yeah, because that's better. It's better to what is it? It's better to do some productive suffering early than deal with a bunch of other shit later. And so she's learning and she's getting older, but I know there's some stuff that just really doesn't look like it's within her reach to just will herself to not do or to improve. She needs the support, and some of that support I can provide a lot of it, but there's some support that like maybe I can't provide. She needs like outside interference, like to navigate her own anxiety, because she does have like a lot of anxiety about this stuff, and I can tell her something, right? But there's all these kind of fears and discomforts that come from the world, and things like that I can't make it all better. So I need to get some outside support, and if that requires, her seeing someone like a therapist or something once a week that I'm okay with, that I talk to and I check with, make sure they're straight and narrow type person, then
it takes the village, right?
Yeah, it takes a fucking village, man. It takes a motherfucking village. Yep. So yeah, my goal is, okay, let's do something about that anxiety and that self-doubt and all this sort of shit. But just having parents that can be like, oh, I understand what that's like. I dealt with it like this. Let's talk about how you want to deal with it. And whatever, and let's talk about the realities of it. And I'm not shaming you. I'm just telling you these are the realities of the situation. These are some of the ways that I dealt with it, because there's no way to change reality. It's not happening. Like, you're not gonna will reality into like bending to your needs. Like, it's not happening. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to put in some effort. And unfortunately, if you're neurodivergent, you're just gonna have to fucking buckle down. But we're here to be supportive and help out.
All this makes a lot of sense, but I feel like my parents, especially my stepmother, would have done this and would have easily advocated for this. And this makes perfect sense, and I should have done this. But I didn't trust my parents enough to even start doing this with them.
Yeah. My daughter trusts me.
Yeah, I'm aware that this is the correct thing to do, and I cannot blame my parents for not doing this, because they would have. But it still kind of brings up a little bit of, I guess, anxiety would be an okay word here in me, and thinking about it.
I mean, it just comes down to like making your kid feel like you're confident and capable of taking care of them from an early age. So I tried to do that to the best of my ability. Not a perfect person, but I feel like I'm probably doing slightly better job with number 2, because like I got more experience, but I don't know. My second kid is so different. It's so crazy. Yeah.
From an abstract concept perspective, it is nice hearing that a child that's probably neurodivergent in some way that I would have found relatable to myself isn't going down the same path that I did, and it seems to be going better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm making sure of that.
Just hearing this other story that didn't end up the way it ended up for me is a little bit of comfort.
I'm thinking the internet is that's why I say the internet's like a very positive thing for neurodivergent people. Besides the fact that remote work's really useful, you can find each other. You can have parents that are neurotypical, that are high in openness and give a shit about their kid, and aren't like worried about like, oh, things like stigmas like my kid's not a retard and shit like that are like going out the door in various places. And so that kind of mentality is going down, and there's information for them. So as long as they have the will, there's a way now. There's a better way, not a perfect way. There's a lot of problems, like I said, there's a way for like autistic kids, but for the schizo kids, yeah, man, we're still like kind of up the creek without a paddle at the moment. I'm trying to work on that paddle. Um,
Well, at least you don't have ABA.
what?
At least you only have what? Electric chair? Do they still do that?
Oh yeah, no ABA. Oh yeah, no, but that's the thing, man. That's what sucks.
I mean, unless there's like an institution similar to ABA, but for schizo kids.
No, there's not. There's not. Not really. Well, I mean, yeah, you could have some kids with like psychosis and stuff, and
Well,
those are
hopefully-
incredibly rare, and they probably don't get the best
mental
help.
wards.
Yeah,
I
but
guess mental ward would be a great.
yeah, no. My hope is that by the time schizo kids or whatever is a thing, or they get recognized, that treatments like ABA and stuff are already fucking out the fucking door, because that shit needs to fucking go, dude. That shit needs to go. That's some archaic fucking caveman shit that just needs to fucking go. Because yeah, hopefully if we figure out how to stop that fucking ABA bullshit with autistic kids, if we find out, oh look, there's this other side of the coin, then by then we'll be like, you know, that ABA thing, yeah, that was fucked up. We're not gonna try it on these kids, because that's gonna fuck them up real bad in other ways. It's gonna make them functional and like hating life and themselves and fucking doing a backflip in their 20s because they figure that's all there is to life, and you know, like the internal horrors of just going through the motions so that they function. Oh god, it's nightmare city, man. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for joining me. Thanks a lot for being here. I should have ended the stream a while ago. It kind of went long. But if you like the streams, if you like what I do, if you like any of this sort of stuff, if you like the server, if you haven't joined it, there's a Zoid Void, join it. If you're schizoid especially, join it up. Go through the application process. You got a bunch of Zoid moderators that kind of vet it, look at it, go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, that works. You can get in, start talking to some other people. Even if you just want to be a lurker, that's so helpful. Like, it's really good just to be a lurker if you want to be a lurker. It's really good. I've already gotten like messages from people telling me like, hey man, I only lurk. I'm probably not going to respond to anything you ask me after this, but like, thanks for having this place. And I'm like, okay, good. So if you want to lurk, that's fine. Most of the people on that server are lurkers. I feel like we have probably a significant amount of active lurkers on the server. So
I mean, what? There's like 530 schizoids.
Yeah,
there's
that
definitely not 530 active posters.
Yeah,
but yo,
no,
even
but active posters,
emotes.
like I don't know. There's probably like what, 30 something maybe max, if you count everybody in there that actually posts. But like, if
people definitely read though, they definitely go back and read a lot.
Well,
of the
yeah,
stuff
because when I look at the polls, sometimes there's been polls that like get answered by like 80 people, like 90 people, and so I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's that many answering polls, not that many chatting, huh? Sorry.
If people will scroll through pages of conversation and still never post anything, but still come back and still read all this
and
stuff,
they get some out of it,
be useful
man.
to some point.
Good, get some out
like
of that
they
shit.
wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't at least somewhat useful, you know?
I mean, they could have left the server, but they're still in there for some reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I'm not gonna tell them how to fucking live their fucking lives. All right, guys. Thanks a lot again, and support me on Patreon, PayPal. Links are in the description on YouTube, description on Twitch. It should be in the About Me or whatever the fuck it is I am on Twitch again. And also, if you hate Shadow and you hate that Shadow talks about himself, give me money as well.
Hey, I did a really good job today, I think.
No,
it's
it's an ongoing joke. Okay, nobody cares.
I made a conscious effort today to not do that.
That's really lame and cringe.
I think I did a good job.
Lame and cringe. Lame and
Shut
cringe. Not based at all. All right.
Working on things and trying new solutions.
Yeah, I'm
I'm not
fucking
gonna
with you.
binge.
Yeah, but in any case, if you guys hate Shadow, send me money too. Just to spite Shadow.
If you hate me, DM me. Don't be a coward.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace out. And as usual, when day is dark, always remember happy day.